Section 7 of The Green Forest Fairy Book. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Claudia Salto. The Green Forest Fairy Book by Loretta Ellen Brady. A Tale of the Northland Kingdom, Chapter 2. Now, in those olden days, when princes journeyed around the world on errands for the maidens whom they loved, the space of time they usually were gone was a year and a day. So when a year and a day had passed, the maiden Matanuska often wandered through the birch wood and stood upon the border of the sea. She strained her gaze far to the south to see the sight of any sail, but Prince Kenai came not. She asked the birds of passage if they had seen her prince, and sometimes they had news of him. "Oh, tell me, ye wild gulls of the wild skies," she asked, "do you know aught of my brave Prince Kenai? He wears a feather robe like mine, and seeks in lands afar to find the sun for me." "Ah, yes," replied the gulls, "we've seen a prince so dressed, and he was sailing westward on the sea and seemed to seek the sun." "And found he what he sought?" cried Maiden Matanuska eagerly. "Alas!" the gulls replied, "the truth is he did not. For many evenings, when the day was done, we saw this prince sail westward. He hoped to meet the sun just where the sky bends down to meet the sea, but though he sailed for days and days, the place he sought seemed sailing too, and so he reached it not." "That is sad news," the maiden sighed. "But when again you see my prince, tell him that all my thoughts are his, and I am sure he cannot fail." Another time she asked a kite bird had he seen Prince Kenai. "Oh, yes, dear maiden," the kite bird made reply, "and he was in the Southland, whither he had gone to seek the sun. But he was worn and wearied with much wandering, and the road was long, and by the time he reached there, the sun had long departed on his journey to the Eastland." "That is sad news, good kite bird," said the maiden, "but when you see my prince again, pray tell him that my hopes are his, and I am sure he cannot fail to win his quest." And still another time did Maiden Matanuska ask an auk to tell her of Prince Kenai. "I saw him," said the auk, "and from the feather robe he wore, I judged him first to be some bird. In lands where scarlet poppies lull the weary travelers to deep sleep, and waterfalls make thunder down the mountain sides, Prince Kenai I saw toiling up a rocky slope, where it is said the sun does rise." "And did he reach the top of this steep slope?" asked Maiden Matanuska. "Now, that I could not say," the auk replied, "for I was flying swiftly and paused not at all. But this I know, the sun's a mighty glowing being, and is like to burn all those who venture near his presence. Unless Prince Kenai have some magic charm, I doubt if the sun will heed him." "That is the saddest news of all," sighed Maiden Matanuska. "But even so, I shall not weep, but pray for him instead. When you next see my prince, good auk, tell him that all my love is his, and I'll await his coming, though he remain 1,000 years." "I shall," replied the auk, and soared away. And so the Maiden Matanuska waited while the time sped on. Wrapped in her feather mantle, she wandered through the birches like a lonely spirit, and the trees were grieved for her. She still dreamed dreams, and loved to think about the time when she would greet her prince, when the light of day would banish all the gloom and shadows of the Northland Kingdom. Still years passed on, and still Prince Kenai came not. King Tamna feared him dead, or that perhaps he had lost his way and was a wanderer forlorn, but Maiden Matanuska knew no fears. "The journey to the Sun is long, my father," she would say, "and my brave prince no magic hath to make it short. He will return and bring with him this wondrous traveler whom he seeks, and what a pleasant place the Northland Kingdom then will be." But as the time went by, there came great sadness in the Northland Kingdom. The good King Tamna laid him down to sleep one night, and never waked again. All folk, both high and low, mourned deeply, for good King Tamna had been like a kindly father rather than a king. When at last the time of mourning passed, Lord Boreas, cousin to King Tamna, came to rule the Northland Kingdom. Now Lord Boreas was a cruel sovereign, a tyrant, and the people were unhappy under his rule. He made harsh laws, and if these laws were not obeyed, he punished with severity. Lord Boreas, it was whispered, had an evil power over the icy winds and rivers in the Northland Kingdom, and few dared resist his will. His anger, it was said, had caused many a village to be blown into the sea and noble cities to be flooded with the rush of waters. But while the rule of this harsh king fell hard on all alike, on Maiden Matanuska it fell hardest. Lord Boreas was her guardian. He scorned the simple customs of the good King Tamna, and straightway ordered all things to his liking. He planned to fell the Maiden Matanuska's forest and build a city in its place. "However, my sweet cousin," said Lord Boreas, "I'll wait until the next mild season is at hand. Then, when the silver foxes come from their winter's sleep, my hunters shall lay traps for them and slay them every one. Their skins will sell for gold, and for your marriage portion you shall have a noble city and 10,000 chests of gold, and I myself will marry you and make you queen." Though Maiden Matanuska's heart was sad, and she wept bitter tears for her loved trees and pets, she made no protest at her cousin's words. She feared his wrath, and so she bowed her head submissively. But when the palace slept and all was still, wrapped in her feather mantle, she stole softly out. Down through the shadowy lanes and misty aisles among the silver birches she sped, until she reached the border of the sea. Then through the gloom she peered to see the sight of any sail, but no sail she saw. "Oh, my beloved prince," she wept, "I fear that when you come 'twill be too late. For rather than to wed my cruel cousin, I'll fling myself into the sea and die." "Now, Maiden Matanuska, what grave sorrow can this be?" a gruff voice spoke beside her. It was old Reynard, chief of all the silver foxes. He had stolen from the burrow to learn how went the season, and to know when he might waken all his sleeping tribe. "Oh, Reynard, my good friend," exclaimed the maiden, "since first you did begin your winter's sleep, I have had many sorrows. My father, good King Tamna, is no more, and now my cruel cousin Boreas rules the Northland Kingdom." She told her tale of sorrows, and old Reynard listened, all alert. "Without a doubt, your cruel cousin Boreas hath an evil power over the winds and streams," said he, when she had finished, "but he shall learn it is not simple to outwit the cunning fox. Now in the past, as you, dear maiden, have protected me and all my tribe from harm, so will we now protect you in your need. Come, follow me, do as I bid, and all will yet be well." So saying, old Reynard then led the maiden down beneath the earth to where the silver foxes still slept their winter's sleep, and birch roots wound about in and out. "Now, Maiden Matanuska," said Reynard, "if you will place a feather from your mantle at the root of every tree, they will be safe from cold and icy blasts, in spite of all Lord Boreas in his wrath may do. Then, when that's done, wrap you all warmly in what's left of it, and rest you safely with my people. When Prince Kenai comes, I'll waken you." The Maiden Matanuska did as Reynard bid, and far beneath the earth she hid herself from cruel Boreas. 'Twas well she did, for when her cousin found her fled, his anger knew no bounds. He sent great parties out to search the land, and he himself, with flaming torch in hand, set out to seek her in the forest. Among the birch trees he found traces, showing that the Maiden Matanuska passed that way. Upon a branch he found a scarlet ribbon she had worn, and in the thorn bush was caught a silken scarf. But though he sought for hours and called her name, Lord Boreas could not find the maiden. "Because I do not know the winding paths among the trees as well as you, you think to trick me, Maiden Matanuska," he cried at last in fury. "But you shall know my vengeance now." Then, climbing up the steep slopes of a nearby mountain, and summoning all his powers of evil, he commanded thus: "Rise, rise, ye rivers that flow swiftly to the sea, until the birchen forest in the valley be all flooded with a mighty rush of waters. Then blow, ye chill winds, from the east and north, until these waters to a solid wall of ice are all transformed." The rivers, obedient at his command, then rose swiftly and overran their banks, so that soon the tallest trees were all submerged, and nothing but a lake was seen. The winds began to blow their wildest, and the lake became a solid bank of ice that threw off chilling mists. Then Boreas called the people of the Northland Kingdom and addressed them thus: "Behold the fate of Maiden Matanuska, and beware, for so shall perish all who dare defy me." The people wept and mourned in secret for the maiden whom they dearly loved, but there were none who dared cry out against the cruel Boreas. End of section 7.